here with Dr. Michele Vaughn, and she has helped me untangle some stuff this morning. That's a whole nother story we'll talk about later. But thank you for having us here to interview you for REentry UNCUT.
Oh, I'm honored. Little old me.
Yes, yes. Well, you know what? You're big. God is using you in a mighty way, and we're grateful for what you're doing in the community. And before we even get into that, please tell us about you. What's your why? Why are you doing all that you're doing? And we only have 2 hours, so if you could fit that within the two, now I'm just playing. Whatever you want to give us, tell us your why.
My why? Wow. You know what? I am. How do I even start to answer my why? First, I want to say that I am a redeemed woman.
Yes.
I'm a redeemed woman. Okay. 22 years ago, I was suicidal. 22 years ago, I was in a very dark place, mentally and spiritually. I was a college dropout. I was pregnant. I felt embarrassed and ashamed. I didn't know my purpose outside of the track and field. I ran track in high school, and I went to college on a track scholarship. And I'm telling you, you know, God is so strategic though. You know, He take our mess ups and He turn them into miracles. And just to make a long story short, because I know we don't have that much time, I grew up in Waukegan. First of my life was North Chicago. So I always say I'm a mixed baby between two cities, North Chicago and Waukegan. But I grew up in Waukegan. I graduated from Waukegan High School, and I became pregnant at 19, my sophomore year in college. And I always tell the young ladies when I speak to them, we used a condom. Okay, so the only safe sex is that if you keep your legs closed, okay, and wait for marriage because you're a queen, right? But I didn't know where I was at that time. So long story short though, I was 19, pregnant, college dropout, came back home. I was suicidal. I was going to have an abortion. I was going to abort my child because I didn't know what motherhood would even look like on me. I had a high school diploma, limited education. What type of choices can I really make in life? And I really didn't think well of or high of myself inside the classroom, okay? The only reason I went to school was because I was great at running track, okay? And track was an emotional and psychological outlet for me because I was dealing with a lot of things internally as a young adult, as a young teen. So at 20 years old, I got married. I had my son. I got married to my son's father at the time. We met in college. He was the only one in his family. He's from Chicago. His mother was 13 when she had him.
Wow.
So he was the only one in his family to actually go to college. And so we got married. We tried to turn lemon into lemonade. And listen, at 24, we found ourselves divorced. I was 24. I had 2 sons at the time, had no job. I was sleeping on my mother's floor. And I said the floor because it was an air mattress, but it had a hole in it. Wow. But I always say, you know what, God, He allowed that rock bottom to become my new foundation. And George, listen, I was 24 and I had a conversation with God for real for the first time. And I said, God, what do you want me to do with my life? And I heard, go back to school. Okay. And I said, for what? I'm not smart. Just go back to school. It was very, very strong. And I just made up my mind. This is where change begins. It begins in your mind. I made up my mind at 24 to go back to school inside the formal classrooms and make life happen, not just for me, but for the 2 brown boys that society was looking for me to raise because their father was no longer in the picture. Wow. The father decided that he wanted to live his life, which has now landed him 25 years in prison.
He's in prison now.
He's in prison today.
Wow.
I have been co-parenting with him behind bars for over 18 years.
So you're co-parenting with somebody who's incarcerated?
Who's incarcerated in another state.
Whole another story.
Yeah. So long story short, it was when I made up my mind to go back to school to be obedient to that voice. I made up my mind that I no longer wanted to hang out. I no longer wanted to continue the behaviors that I did when I was younger. I no longer wanted to drink. I no longer wanted to smoke. I wanted to give Jesus a try for real.
Oh, say that.
I did. For me, I did. For me, I did. Okay. Because I grew up in church, but I knew church, I didn't know Jesus. Okay. So my mother did the best she could. But for me, you know, when he went to prison, I knew that I had no other outlet.
Yeah.
I was pursuing my education like I was pursuing that finish line, right? I wanted to win, and not just win. I wanted my sons to see an image of their mother outside of the track, to see what success looks like. I didn't want them to see what failure looked like and me quitting all the time.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, a lot of women, you know, they get so accustomed to living in a state of emergency, and they stamp that as, this is my life.
Yeah.
No, failing, to fail doesn't mean you're a failure.
Okay.
It means that you failed at something, especially when you go into school, because I failed basic algebra when I went back into the classroom. I forgot what an obtuse angle was and everything else. Listen, I didn't know, because I was in survival mode. And many of single mothers are in survival mode, trying to work 2 jobs, trying to do homework, and etc. And so, you know, when you fail at trying to do something you've never done before, you're falling forward. You're not falling backwards. You understand what I'm, and many people, they take that failing forward as, I'm a failure. You just stamped yourself beneath what God created you to be.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
And so for me, you ask me my why and who am I? I'm a redeemed woman of God. I'm a woman that's on a mission to help other women realize their purpose and repackage them by deconstructing old mentalities that I'm not smart enough, who no one in my family's ever done it. Yes, you can. Let me help you and coach you and realize your full potential.
I started the failure cycle myself with having abortions. You know, abortion after abortion, because I lived in California where they have Planned Parenthood and it's just free.
Wow.
You know, we had a baby, okay, we'll just take care of that. And so I had no example, and I want you to talk about, if you can, having no example, but saying, you know what, I'm gonna get up, and like you said, I'm gonna fight, I'm gonna go after it, I'm gonna do it. And the passion that you have now, what created that?
You know, pain created that. Pain created that. When you're tired of being tired, there's a point, and I believe in everybody's lives, where you have your moment, and God allow you to have that moment, and you have to make a decision. I believe that change promotes growth. Many people reject change because they're afraid of what's on the other side of change. But I believe change promotes growth. And I want to go back. My mother is my shero. My mother is, you know, she only received her high school education, but my mother is a praying woman. My mother, listen, she's those kind of women where, you know, you need a good prayer through. She showed me what a wife is like. She showed me what a lady is like. But my father was a different story. I love my dad, but my father, he showed me another side of living as well. But for me, in terms of, you know, why do I want to pursue what God wanted me to pursue? Because the Bible talks about in Romans 12:2, when you allow God to transform your thinking, he then shows you his will for your life. You understand? And so it wasn't until I totally surrendered to the process of being reshaped and remade again, which hurt. It hurt, because when you're in your mid-20s, it seemed like life is popping, everyone is doing this and that, and here you are with 2 kids. Listen, if I didn't make that decision at 24 to get up and move forward, I would still be sleeping on the floor. I would still be sleeping on an air mattress. I would still be broken in my spirit, right? And in my bank account. And I don't like either one. So for me, it was me intentionally, Michele, pursuing her real relationship with God on my own, not from my mama, not from nobody's church. It was my own pursuit. And I began to be very specific to God, who created the whole world, in my prayers, right? And God began to show me in the book of Proverbs, Michele, I'm a father to the fatherless. If you follow my path, Michele, I don't have to give you all the details, because I don't want to scare you, daughter. But if you follow my path, I know you flunked basic algebra, but you're going to have to retake it again. You're going to have to pay again. You're going to have to go through the process again. Because if I gave you the strength to carry a baby for 9 months who you never seen, and you came to the process towards the end, and you pushed, and I sent you midwives around you to tell you when to stop, when to go, and you pushed through the process to birth new life, I'm going to do the same thing for you. Things you've never seen.
You are blowing us away. Okay, this is REentry Uncut. We're talking about second chance opportunities, another chance. She done brought Jesus into it, where she done messed everything up. And that's where we want to go. And now we need to talk about, if we can get to that, because we're still stuck on your why. But we're going to get into your what. What is it?
Okay.
What is it that you do as a nonprofit organization for teen mothers? We are in the Teen Mother Resource Center?
Teen and Single Mothers Resource Center.
Teen and Single Mother Resource Center. So she's going to talk about that.
Okay, calming down.
Yes.
So real quickly, again, 2014, June 30th, 2014 was my last day as the Associate Dean for Community Education with College of Lake County. Okay. They laid me off because of the grant funding, the lack of grant funding. But here's the thing. Again, when you have a relationship with God, He speaks back to you. A year before they laid me off, God had already spoke to me. The college is going to lay you off. I was already prepared for the layoff. I began to see how it was working out. And I didn't know, and he said, I want you to start your own nonprofit. And I said, well, how am I going to do that? I work here full time, but I started the paperwork. Okay. See, many people start the work, but they don't, the foundation is the paperwork. You got to be legal in the land. Yes. You have to be legal. So I began to start the paperwork while I was still a dean, and it just, the timing and everything worked out. So my last day was June 30th, July 22nd, 2014, not even a month later, we got our 501c3 approval from the IRS, okay? We did not have a building, but I bought a $35 sign that said the Teen and Single Mothers Resource Center, and I put it in my garage, and I spoke to the sign. I spoke to it. I said, you're going to be on a building one day sign. I don't know what building, but you will be. Until then, all of our services are free to the Lake County community, and I'm going to be mobile. I'm going to go back to the high school I graduated from, the churches, anyone who would have us. We're going to provide free services to single mothers to help them realize their full potential, right? Yes. I come to the school at State Career College because about 70% of their students are single mothers. I met with the president in 2014 of September. Okay. And I said, I want to help serve your single mothers, help them retain them so they can graduate, get employed, and become self-sufficient. Yes. She said, where's your building? I said, I don't have one, I'm mobile. Volunteers, we're mobile. I walked in this building with the folder 4 years ago, met a wonderful woman, and I walked out with the master keys as a partner. We've been here for 4 years, serving the Lake County community, providing free coaching for single mothers in the high schools, in Catholic charities, wherever we're assisted staying house, helping single mothers go from apartment living to home ownership for free, funding single mothers' education, higher education, helping them become employed. This is what God has called me to do, because I told God, I said, if you help me get out of poverty, I promise you I would help every other mother realize her full potential. I owe God this. I don't get paid for this. My payoff is coming here every day and seeing the payoff of another mother move forward. And I want God to tell me, daughter, I'm so proud of you. That's my payoff. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes it's not about money.
Come on, please say that.
Wherever your heart is, that's where your treasure is going to be. But people look for the treasure and they abandon the heart.
Wait, talk about that, because a lot of us want to start things in the community or start things in our neighborhood. Why are we doing it? That's first and foremost and most important. And then how we're going to do it. Is God calling me to it? You keep mentioning calling.
Yeah.
It's important, because when things don't go right, and I want you to talk about this, because somebody's watching this saying, man, she's got it all together. She came from that to this. But I know there's some in between that has caused a lot of trauma or trouble in your life, and yet you overcame that. And so, speak about that, because if you're called, you got to know you're called to whatever you do, because it's not always going to be peaches. It's not going to be great for you. It's going to be some trials and tribulations, and yet when you know you're called, you get knocked down, but you still get back up.
Every picture has to be developed in the dark room.
Ooh.
God developed me in the dark room. I was ugly. The process was ugly.
Yeah.
But I had to allow the process to happen, because what He was planning for me, and here's the thing, many people in the community, like you mentioned, they want to start different initiatives and etc. But it's all got to be rooted in your story.
I'm going back to get me. And by essentially what you're doing, by living where you're living, doing the things you're doing, you're sitting in their seat. So when you talk to them about living in an apartment, you're not high and lofty. I've been there.
Listen, let me give you some numbers real quick, because people respond to numbers. In this country, 13.6 million single parents in the United States of America. And of the 13.6 million, 84% are mothers. 16% are fathers. 21 million children are impacted by this type of a family. Now, when we talk about teen pregnancy, that's 750,000 teens in this country every year becoming pregnant, which is impacting our high school dropout rate, which is 1.2 million students annually dropping out of high school every year. That's every 26 seconds, 7,000 kids leave education, which impacts incarceration, because 80% of incarcerated individuals have been dropped out of high school.
Yeah.
So it's a trickle down. And people ask me, well, how come you serving single mothers? Aren't you promoting for them to be single? No, I'm serving them because 84% of kids are being raised by one woman in a household. It's going to impact the education, the teacher, the outcomes, the graduation, the careers. We have potential senators dropping out, potential scientists dropping out, creativity dropping out. So this is what God's called me to do, to speak life back into the primary parent who's raising the next generation.
Unfortunately, this is our last segment. You have been amazing. And I really believe anybody in the community should be inspired right now by what you're doing. If you could give us a little bit. I know you have a new book coming out, Dare to Believe, but I also know you have materials and things that you give people here, some of the teen mothers that come in here. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, one of the tools that I like to use, because it's one thing, we provide life coaching, okay? I am a certified life coach with the John Maxwell team, okay? And we also have a board member, April Stallworth. She's a certified life coach as well. So we provide life coaching to single mothers individually, or majority of the time we answer requests from the community, and we provide group coaching for single mothers and teen mothers. So for example, if a high school reached out to us, like for example, Waukegan High School has Brookside campus, and requested a parenting workshop or a group, parenting workshop. This is a book that I created. It's called A Suggested Blueprint for Single Mother Parenting, and it was published in 2016. It can be found on my website or Amazon.com. What this book is basically giving single mothers is 8 tips, okay, of single mother parenting, okay, and this is demonstrated from my life, my research, working with single mothers, and just my life's work. And so, like for example, one of the tips is called tip number 4: bypassing toxic relationships to safeguard your child. Right? So we're challenging the mother to understand that you are the security officer in that child's life.
Wow.
And so you literally have to secure and safeguard their emotions, their well-being, their entire holistic health. And so we talk about deconstructing old mentalities to rebuild a new future here first. So why would a mother go to school, or why would she even finish school if she don't believe she can? She has to know what her purpose is in order for her to pursue that degree. So if you live in the Lake County, Illinois area, and you want us to come out to your church, your school, your nonprofit to serve your single mother parenting population, you will simply go to our website, www.teenandsinglemom.com. You will hit the request for services button. You will make your request known. We will follow up with you, and we'll set up a time to come out to your school, your organization, and simply serve your single mom population for free. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Listen, I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, clearly you can come down here and see for yourself. She's not doing this for gain or anything other than to glorify the Lord Jesus Christ, and because it's her calling.
Okay. So this is a single mother who is going to school. Both of them are single mothers, okay? They're going to school to create positive blueprints for their kids. This single, what's your name? Sabrina, and your name? Jada. And listen. This time next year, they will be both full-time medical assistants, taking blood pressures, and having salaries. Listen, shifting the entire dynamics of their family, right?
Wow.
Your kid's proud of you, right? Yep. This is what we do.
Amazing.